Hello and welcome to another V's Cards video. My name is Veronica Schuich and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in Australia. And in this video I'm going to show you how to craft an elegant floral card, as well as a bonus floral gift tag, all under 10 minutes. Here's a quick look at the products that I'll be using for this first project. Now there are quite a lot of products here. You can absolutely minimise it by adding only the essentials, and I'll circle the 3 essentials that you'll need for this card, as well as the first set of products that I showed you earlier. I have a link of the product list in the description below. First up, I am prepping the parts that I've already die cut. I'm using my bone folder to curl the long strips and some of the edges of the petals and the back of the Sharpie, and later I use a different tool to do the same thing, that is to create a well in the centre of the flower. I believe it's a quilling tool, at least on the other end, and the rounded end is an embossing stylus. It looks like a larger size of one of the tips of the Take Your Pick tool. Perhaps any similar tool which has a rounded end may be used to create a dent, lift or curl in your die cuts. And you have the option to mix and match the different parts, so you could make such a variety of different types of flowers within the die set. I really like the versatility of the paper florist dies. Stand by for my next video tutorial when I'll be doing a interactive flower pot card, a blast from the past. I'll be updating it and using the paper florist dies. I have my silicone craft mat underneath my flowers as I'm gluing, because I want to keep my workspace or surface free from liquid adhesive. I'm going to show you how I built the larger flower. First of all, curling each petal. There is a slit in each petal of the large flower, which I adhere together by placing some mini glue dots on the back and then just bending one part of the slit underneath the other part. By doing this, I'm definitely creating a scoop or a 3D effect on each petal. As a base, you can use a small circle over 1 inch or so in size, and then build your flower by adding the petals around it. For the size of this large petal, I would say placing 5 petals together to make one flower is a perfect number of petals. There are ways you can simplify this card. Make it a quicker project by minimising the amount of flowers, and also by cutting out the heat embossing. Just keep it a simple stamped sentiment, as well as any shape in the card front, and I'll show you what I mean by that in just a minute. I use the Stitched with Whimsy dies to create that swirly pattern around the border of the card front, so you can eliminate that part if you wanted to keep it more simple. Speaking of simple, here's an example of what you could do. So it's simplified elegance, it's not too over the top. On the right of the screen, you'll see that I have created a plan for how I was going to set up the bouquet, and I've taken a photo of it and printed it out on my printer, so I have some reference. Now I'm thinking about a sentiment, and I'm wondering whether I really want that green background. It's soft seafoam. I'm wondering whether I should change that up to another colour. I feel like he does need something, so I end up using vellum instead. As I'm layering my different pieces of the bouquet, I'm either using liquid adhesive. If I want to give anything a bit of a lift, especially the flowers, then I'll use dimensionals or mini dimensionals. That way I can still tuck in some leaves underneath them as well. If there are any kinks in your ribbon or twine, you can use your bone folder and slide as though you were curling a ribbon when you're decorating a gift, and what the sliding will do is straighten things up for you. I'll be using a specific 2-part die for the sentiment, so I need to make sure that the stamp in the centre will fit the centre circle, and not go over the second piece, which is the border. As you can see, this stamp fits perfectly. But there are two parts to this die, so I have to make sure that they stick together well. So what I need is a circle smaller than the larger border, but larger than the centerpiece, if that makes sense. I'm going to use 3 different coloured cardstocks to see which one I prefer. So I'm first prepping them to heat emboss them. Since I cut them prior to doing the heat embossing, I need to keep them in place, so I used a temporary glue to adhere it to a scrap piece of cardstock. I then stamped the sentiments using Versamark, added the gold embossing powder, brushed it off any excess, and used my heat tool to heat emboss the sentiments. I'm placing liquid glue on the backing of the sentiment so that I can join up the border plus the centerpiece and make it all one and together. This is a step you can omit if you're simply going to adhere it onto a card and you're not looking to lift it. So the card front itself can be the backing, but if you did want to give it a lift, then you'll need to do the process that I did just before. Here's a mistake I've deliberately left on the video to show you. I thought that I did too much of an angle on that sentiment, so I ended up tearing it off carefully from the card front, hoping not to destroy it. And then I add liquid adhesive back onto the dimensionals and adhere in a more 180 degrees or just a bit off it. I thought it looked better that way. I really struggled with whether I wanted to use the soft seafoam ribbon or the gold twine, and in the end the gold twine was the winner, and I used a mini glue dot to put that together. Now I'll move on to the bonus gift tag, and I'll show you pictures of both projects towards the end of this video. Here I am crafting on the fly. I have no idea what kind of design I'm going to have, but I did have an idea of which of the flowers and leaves I was going to use, and I'm playing around and experimenting, building one of the flowers as well. I do end up using a sponge dauber to sponge daub the tip of the smaller flowers to give it a bit more colour as well. For the design, I'm thinking of a triangular shape. We are coming towards the end of this video tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. If you like it, please take a moment to like. And I invite you to subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber. A shout out to all those who have recently subscribed, especially those who have made some comments in the comments section of my last video. So your interactions, especially your comments, have helped pull my video out of the black hole and into the light for the public to see. Most of my videos are very similar to the video I just showed you, so if you like that one, I invite you to explore some of my other recent videos as well. Here's a question for you. Tell me, how long have you been paper crafting? Are you a beginner crafter? Have you just started paper crafting? Have you been card making for a year, 2, 3, 4? Let me know in the comments section. I would love to know. For me, it'll be 8 years since I've been a Stampin' Up demonstrator, but previously to that, I also have been doing card making for a further 10-ish years off and on in between my 3 children. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, take care and happy crafting.